Hi, 8th graders. It is time to take part 2 of our lesson. It starts on page 4 in your workbook, and these are the word problems that go along with the Pythagorean theorem. Again, the Pythagorean theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared, where a and b are legs and c is the hypotenuse. And so what we're looking at today are real-world problems where we could use the Pythagorean theorem to find unknown lengths, etc. So what I want to do is do a few of them with you and then have you try some on your own. And I want to start on page 4 with number 16. Number 16 says, a taut cable connects two cable car stations A and B, which are positioned 50 meters and 20 meters above the ground. The horizontal distance between the stations is 1/2 kilometer. Find the length of the cable. Okay, if you would look at this, this is not quite a right triangle, but if I were to draw a line like this, I could make it into a right triangle. Here, and we do know that the distance from here to here will be the same even if it's 20 meters up. So what I've done is taken this and moved it 20 meters up. There's a couple of things that make this a tricky problem, and one is that these two lengths are given 50 meters and 20 meters, but this says 1/2 kilometer. So we are talking about different units. So since these are in meters, I want to make 1/2 kilometer into meters. Well, kilo means 1,000, so 1 kilometer is 1,000 meters. So 1/2 kilometer would be 500 meters. Okay. The second thing is, in order to make this a right triangle, I had to move this base up 20 meters in the air. So the length of this is going to be 50 meters, but it's 20 meters closer, so it's going to be 30 meters. Okay, so to find the length of the cable, it's going to be 30 meters, 500 meters, and then x. The question is x. Is x a leg or a hypotenuse? And it is actually the hypotenuse. So let's set up our problem. One leg is 30 meters, one leg is 500 meters. So it's going to be 30 squared plus 500 squared equals x squared. And that's our unknown. So 30 squared is 900 plus 500 squared is 250,000. That equals x squared. So we add 900 plus 250,000 would be 250,900 is x squared. But again, I don't want x squared, I want x. So I'll have to square root that. And if I square root one side of the equation, I have to square root the other. So let's get our calculator and find the square root of 250,900. And that is 500.899. It does say to round to the nearest tenth. The 8 is in the tenths place, but it is going to round up to a 9 because of the 9 next to it. So x is about 500.9 meters. Okay. All right, that was a little bit tricky, which is why we did it together. All right, 17, 18, and 19. I want you to try on your own. 20, I want you to try on your own, but let's look at 21. 21 says, in the diagram, the measure of angle, this means measure of angle ADB is 90 degrees. So here is A, D, B, 90 degrees. AD is 22.6 inches, BC is 13 inches, and AB is 34.4 inches. Find the length of AC. Find the length of AC. Okay, so how do we find the length of AC? This is what we want to know. This is our X. Well, I see, again, Pythagorean theorem has to do with right triangles. I can see two right triangles in this. I see a smaller one, and then I see the larger outside right triangle. The problem with the smaller one is I have two unknowns. I don't know what this is. I don't know what this is. So there's nothing I can really do with that. But the larger one, I know what this side is, and I know what this side is. And because I know two of them, I could figure out the whole length of this. And if I know the whole length, I can take 13 inches out, and that will tell me what this part is. So that's where we're going to start with. We are going to start with figuring out what this is. And then once I know what this is, then I will have two lengths and I can figure out what X is. So this is quite an undertaking. All right, let's find what this little part is first. So 22.6, that is a leg. This is a leg, and 34.4 is my hypotenuse. So I am going to do 22.6 squared plus, this is our unknown, x squared equals 34.4 squared. Okay, let's figure out what these are. 22.6 squared is 510.76. So I'm going to write that. 510.76 plus x squared equals, let's see what 34.4 squared is. 1,183.36. Now I'm going to solve this equation. Subtract 510.76 from both sides. That's going to cancel out. So 1183.36 minus 510.76 equals 672.6. So x squared is 672.6. I'm going to need to square root both of them. So the square root of 672.6 is 25.9. So to round to the nearest tenth, 9 is in the tenths place. So 25.9. Okay, so this whole thing is 25.9. And if I subtract 13.0 from it, that would be 12.9. So this is about 12.9 inches. So I know this is 22.6 and this is 12.9. And now I know I can figure out what X is. And X is my hypotenuse in this triangle. So let's set it up. I'm going to draw a line just so my work doesn't get all messed up together. And we're going to do 22.6 squared plus 12.9 squared equals x squared. All right, so let's get our calculator. And we are going to do 22.6 squared. Same thing it was earlier, 510.76 plus 12.9 squared, 166.41 equals x squared. So let's add those together. 166.41 plus 510.76. And that equals 677.17. That's what x squared is. But I'm going to need to square root both. Let's see what that is. Square root 677.17 equals 26.022. We're rounding to the nearest tenth. It's about 26. So about 26.0. All right, and it is inches. All right, so we know that x is 26.0 inches approximately. Part B says find the area of the triangle ACD. So ACD, we are looking for the small one. It's always important that you check out the name and then figure out which one it was, because when I looked at this earlier, I wasn't as careful and I was thinking if we were finding the area of the large one. Okay, so how do you find the area of a triangle? Well, area is 1/2 base times height. So we're going to put in there what we know. We're finding the area, we know 1/2. The base, this is the base, this is the height. The base is 12.9 times 22.6. All right, I'm just going to put parentheses around that. So 1/2, and it's kind of a mess, but our calculator can figure this out. 1/2 times 12.9 times 22.6 equals 145.77. 145.77. So the area of the small triangle is about 145.77 square inches. All right, that was 21. All right, 22, I want you to do part A, but I want you to write omit. So do that right now, write omit on part B. 23, we're going to do together, but we're going to omit part C. So we're just going to do A and B on 23. Let's look at this. In rectangle PQRT, PQ is 80 feet, QR is 65 feet, RS is 30 feet, and the measure of angle SUP is 90 degrees. So here's SUP. This angle is 90 degrees. Find the perimeter of the shaded triangle. Okay, so what I am looking at is I see there's a right triangle here, and if this is a straight line, so this would be a right triangle as well. We are looking for the perimeter of the shaded triangle. So I need the length of this. I know the length here is 30, and I need the length of this whole thing. All right, if I am looking for this length, I can see that because this is the whole thing is a rectangle, this is a right angle right here. So this is a right triangle. If it is a rectangle, PT and QR are the same length. So this would be 65 feet as well. And the top and bottom would be the same length, but I don't need the whole bottom, I just need this part. Well, if the whole thing is 80 feet and this part is 30 feet, do you know how far this part would be? That would be 50 feet. Okay, now that I have these two side lengths, I can use the Pythagorean theorem to figure out what the length of this side is of the shaded triangle. So I'm going to do most of my work down here because I've got a lot of work to do. All right, so this and this, they are both legs. Our unknown is the hypotenuse. So we are going to say 65 squared plus 50 squared. That's going to equal C squared. Now, one thing you can do is, if you've got your calculator, is I've been doing it one step at a time, but we can combine steps. We can put 65 squared plus 50 squared in the calculator. So I'm going to do that. 65 squared plus 50 squared equals 6,725. So I am going to write 6,725. That's what c squared is. I don't want c squared, I want c. So we're going to square root both. So go back to our calculator. We're going to find the square root of 6,725. And that is 82.006, etc. We are rounding to the nearest tenth, which is a 0. So that rounds to, so C is 82.0 feet. So just kind of write that, 82.0 feet. All right, so I got that one. Now to find the perimeter, I've got this side, I've got this side, now I need this side. The nice thing about this being a rectangle is I have a right triangle here, this big white rectangle or triangle in the white. So since I've got 80 feet and I've got 65 feet, I can use those in the Pythagorean theorem to figure out what this side length is. So 80 and 65 are legs, our unknown is the hypotenuse. I think got frozen, there we go. So we are going to put that in, 80 squared plus 65 squared equals x squared. All right, in our calculator, let's do 80 squared plus 65 squared equals 10,625. But I don't want x squared, I want x. So I'm going to square root both. $103.077. We're rounding to the nearest tenths place. The 7 says make that 0 1. So it is about 103.1 feet. Okay, 103.1 feet. All right, the perimeter of the shaded triangle. Perimeter is the distance around. Now the shaded triangle is this whole thing. So it's going to be 82 plus 30 plus 103.1. 82.0 plus 30 plus 103.1. And I'm just going to put that in my calculator. 82 plus 30 plus 103.1. And that is 215.1. So the perimeter is 215.1 feet. Now it says to find the area of the shaded triangle. It doesn't matter what type of triangle it is. The area of a triangle is 1/2 the base times the height. So we got to figure out the base. This is the base of the triangle. The height is how far it is from the base. So if you look here, 65 feet is the height, 30 is the base. So we are going to do 1/2 times 65 times 30. All right, so 1/2 times 65 times 30 equals 975. So the area is 975 square feet. All right, 23. We're going to omit C. And 24 we're going to do together, and then 25 you are on your own. So let's look at 24. It says a map with a scale of 1 to 50,000 shows the location of 4 towns, A, B, C, and D, The distance between town A and B is 6 centimeters. The distance between B and C is 7. The distance between C and D is 8. Given that the measure of angle ABC equals the measure of angle ADC, which equals 90 degrees, find the actual distance between town A and town D. All right, so all of this is labeled. They told us that these two angles are right angles. Since we are working with the Pythagorean theorem, it makes sense that we need right triangles. Now, if I draw a line from C to A, then I have divided my figure into two right triangles. Okay? This is what I'm trying to find. I'm trying to find the distance from A to D. Now, if I am using this right triangle, I only have one measurement. I need two to be able to solve it. So I'm going to come over to this right triangle. I have two sides that we know of. So I can figure out what this side length is. Once I figure out what this side length is, then I can use the Pythagorean theorem to figure out x. So let's get started. 7 and 6 are legs. We're looking for the hypotenuse. So let's put that in the Pythagorean theorem. So we've got 7 squared plus 6 squared equals c squared. I'm just going to use my calculator here. 7 squared plus 6 squared is 85. So c squared is 85. I want to find what c is, so I am going to square root it. The square root of 85 is 9.2195, etc. 2 is in the tens place. The 1 says to leave it alone. So the length of that is about 9.2 centimeters. 9.2 centimeters. That's the length of this one. Now I can use these two side lengths to figure out this. But now my unknown is a leg. I have a leg, I need a leg, and then I have a hypotenuse. So let's put that in our formula. 8 squared plus x squared equals 9.2 squared. 8 squared is 64 plus x squared. Let's figure out what 9.2 squared is 84.64. And then I'm going to subtract 64 from both sides. That cancels out. X squared is, so it's 20.64. I don't want to know what x squared is. I want to know what x is. So let's find the square root of 20.64. 4.54, we're rounding to the nearest tenth. The 5 is in the tenths place. The 4 to the right of it says leave it alone. So x is 4.5 centimeters. Now, the other part of this, once we found what it is on the map, is that it says find the actual distance. And they tell us that the scale is 1 to 50,000. So 1 to 50,000. So that is 1 centimeter to 50,000 centimeters. Okay. We don't measure distance between towns in centimeters. So I need to change this to something that is more, not so ridiculous. I could multiply 50,000 centimeters times that, and that will tell me how many centimeters to the town, but that's ridiculous. So the thing is that I need to change it. So what meter is my unit? What would be my measurement between towns? And that would be kilometers, right? All right, so I need to change this centimeters to meters. All right, what I'm going to do is, how many centimeters are in a meter? Well, centa means 100, so there are 100 centimeters in a meter. So if I divide 50,000 centimeters by 100, that's going to tell me how many meters. So let's do that. 50,000 divided by 100 equals 500 meters. Okay, 500 meters. Now, how many meters are in a kilometer? Because I think kilometer is a more useful measure between towns. Well, there are 1,000 meters in a kilometer. So if I were to divide this by 1,000, that would equal 0.5 kilometers. So each centimeter, 1 centimeter, is half a kilometer. So if I multiply 4.5 times half, that will tell me how many kilometers. So 4.5 times 0.5 equals. And that is 2.25. So it is 2.25 kilometers. The reason we went over this together pretty much was this last step, going from the distance on a map to the distance in real life. All right, we've done several together. I would like for you to try the others on your own. And if you run into problems, call me during office hours and I will help you through it. Have a great day. Talk to you soon.